Hi, I've been having a conversation with myself about death and wondered if you wanted to listen in. Now, I confess, of course, that I'm not hoping to cover the entire gamut of philosophical, theological, sociological, anthropological, or even just plain logical aspects of the topic. I give myself 5 or 6 minutes. I can't even begin to scratch the surface. But there is such a lot of it about. It seems very cowardly of me not to even suggest that we're thinking about it. And of course we are. So death, or at least the one aspect of death that I want to explore today, which has come back to me with such great power in the last few weeks, I want to suggest to you, friends, that death is at its heart a community experience. I've been taking funerals now for 30 years, and like any person taking services across that length of time, I've had some incredibly sad experiences and some hugely difficult circumstances. But I have to say that the challenges of those funerals that I have been privileged to take in the last 5 or 6 weeks have been as great as any. And what has made them so hard has been the social isolation within the whole death experience. We are not created, I don't believe, to die on our own. We are not designed to face the reality of death alone. But of course it will not come as news to anybody listening to this that that is exactly what is happening. Circumstances are so difficult that that is, in reality, what is happening time and time again. In the moment of death, loved ones are often unable to hold the hand of the person that they love. In the experience of death, family members are often unable to be together in the home to comfort one another and support one another because of the restrictions placed upon them and the dangers facing them. In the practicalities of death, funeral directors and ministers are arranging funerals over the phone. No opportunity to meet in the home with a grieving family, to chat over photographs, to share memories, to hold a grieving hand. Did you know hands could grieve? In the funeral service, unless you live together, you can't sit together. And all but the very closest family members are not permitted to attend at all. No singing, because you don't want to risk that, there's only a few of you. No stories, because, well, we know what we know and we just want to get this over and done with. No handshakes, let alone the offer of a comforting hug. No, let's carry on sharing our stories at home or in the pub over a drink, a laugh and a gigantic pasty, because the homes have become too often places of solitary confinement, and the pubs, well, the only pints the pubs are pouring at the moment are down the drains. And in our current predicament, death has become for us the ultimate expression of social isolation. And I am increasingly aware of just how difficult that is for families and friends to cope with, and professionals. Just how counterintuitive this is to the way that we instinctively feel that death should be, even if we've never actually thought about it. I think it was Woody Allen who once wrote, "I'm not afraid of death, I just don't want to be there when it happens." Well, that cannot really be avoided, but we should be able to approach our own death with the people we love around us. We should be able to experience death knowing that we are held by those who love us. And we should be able to face the reality of death of a loved one knowing that we are supported by people around us who love us, who care for us and who are with us. But sadly sometimes at the moment that is simply not possible. And that causes pain on top of pain and distress on top of distress and grief on top of grief. We may have to face death as individual human beings, of course we do. But I am more and more convinced that death is at heart a community experience. So the huge congregations that in normal times can gather to remember someone, some of those present hardly knew. So they're travelling from across the world because I wouldn't want to miss it. So the parties where the drink runs freely and the laughter flows intermingled with the tears, and everything is completely natural and normal. So the roadside memorials and the oceans of flowers laid on the public plaza, the memorial books on Facebook, and so it goes on. Death is in essence a shared event, a community experience. We need to be able to do something. We need to be able to do something together. We need to be able to support one another, and maybe one reason is that we know if we haven't already been there, then one day we will be. Somehow, friends, at some point in the future, we will have to understand and respond to the compounded pain of those who have lost loved ones in these circumstances, and recognise also the community grief that has not yet had opportunity to be expressed. But for now, in this in the meantime moment, when you hear that somebody has died, whatever the circumstances, remember their family and the compounded grief that they will experience. It is not only those who lose loved ones to that dreadful COVID-19 virus whose death experience is changed by our circumstances, it is everybody. And if that experience is your experience, then try to know this. There is a world full of people who care. There are communities full of people who refuse to register the death of the person you loved merely as a number in a statistic, and will do everything that we can to support you and to be there for you. And in every circumstance, remember too, the doctors and the nurses and the carers and the chaplains who have done everything possible to be family for those who are reaching the end of their earthly life when their own family could not be there. And somewhere in the maelstrom of emotions, try to remember the promise that He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. Stay safe. Stay at home if you can. Stay close to God, for He is close to you. God bless.